Good evening, everybody. Uh, shouldn't say anybody because this video is for the Bnei Aliyah, that even the days of Chazal mu'atim heim, and I'm not interested in trying to change anyone's mind. I'm reaching out to the real Balei Nefesh, the people who want to be Koloshim, my Rebbe, Moshe Shapiro. Tzat lemala mishlosh tfachim. They just want to lift themselves up a little bit, to be a little bit more, to be a little bit upward mobile, to really deserve the title of being a Yisrael, of Yisrael Shenikru Rashis. I'm Skula, Mamleches Kohanim V'Goykarsh. I'm only speaking to them if they're anybody. And maybe if not now, maybe this video will reach someone in some generation that will find it useful. I'm not here to change anybody's mind, and I've despaired on, especially if it's changing someone's mind in a way that's mechayev more. I'm done with that. I've given up on that. Today, at least to my to me, something was revealed. On Simchas Torah, I heard terrible rumors, which at the time I dismissed as exaggerated rumors. I mean, not killing Yidden being dead, bad enough. Women and children being kidnapped, bad enough. But it was about babies killed in front of their parents, babies decapitated in front of their parents, burnt alive. And at the time, asking a few goyim that claim to have seen the news, they couldn't confirm that part. There was only the, not that there wasn't what to be upset about without that. But today it came out. It came out like 40 babies burnt, decapitated, and it was on Simchas Torah, the Simcha of the Torah, the day when we supposedly, we restore everything we lost. We restored, our level to the best that we can, that we were at Bizman Matan Torah. So it caused me today when these most horrible rumors were confirmed. It reminded me of a medrash in the Shir Hashirim Rabbah. Mashcheni achrecha narutza. Paul says, pull me after you, and after you pull me, and after you I will run. Then, of course, mashcheni kos miloshen mashkeni. Take from me a mashkon, take from me a collateral, take from me a guarantee, as we will see in the medrash. Amar Rabbi Meir, said Rabbi Meir, B'shah she'amdu Yisrael lifnei Har Sinai lekabel haTorah. At the time where Am Yisrael stood before Har Sinai to receive the Torah. Omar Kodesh Baruch Hu al Iki. So HaKadosh says, I swear. It's a strange word. It seems to be, ironically, an Arabic derived word. I swear, Ani noschem es haTorah. I swear I'll give you the Torah. I'll keep my end of the bargain. Elaviuli arevim tovim shidro. But I want guarantors. You're going to keep the Torah. So you see where the Medrash is going. Mashcheni, mashkeni, right? Riboshim, take a mashkon from me, take a collateral from me. Riboshim wanted arevim, we wanted guarantors that we will actually keep the Torah. V'ani nosachem, and if you give me guarantors, then I'll give you the Torah. Okay? Amr so Klausel says to the Ribono Shalom, I will say arevim lanu. Right? Our forefathers will be our guarantors. Amalem. So Riboshim tells Klal Yisrael, I will say to them, no, those guarantors, I need guarantors for those guarantors. Not good enough. Those guarantors need guarantors. Arva boy. Right? But Lamad Daima, you know what's it similar to? Someone wanted to borrow from a king. The king, I'll lend you money, but bring me a guarantor. Give me an orif. Then I'll give you the loan. And so he brought him a guarantor. No, this guarantor needs a guarantor. I can't just trust him alone. I need a guarantor for the guarantor. So he brought a second guarantor, a backup guarantor. You have the first guarantor defaults. You have the second guarantor. Even the second guy, I don't trust him either. Don't think, I want a guarantor for the guarantor of the guarantor. So, once a third guarantor was brought, Omar, so Hashem says, the king says, for this third guarantor, this guy, for the third one that you brought up, because of him, I'm going to actually give you the loan. So also, Bishar Shabli saw Kabbalah Torah at the time when Amisol was there, standing, waiting to receive the Torah. Amar Lahem, so again, as the Medrash said earlier, the Rebbe said, give me good guarantors that you will keep the Torah, and then I'll give you the Torah. They said, I will say no Arevim, O son, our forefathers will be our Arevim, our guarantors. Because I don't trust, your forefathers are not enough. I have tinus on all of them, of why they're not the perfect guarantors. I have a tina on Avram Avinu. She'omar b'ma eda. Avram Avinu famously, when HaKadosh told him about giving him Eretz Yisrael, Avram Avinu didn't just take it on faith. He asked b'ma eda ki Yerashena, as is well known. Yitzchak Yeshav, I have a tina on Yitzchak also. And he says if he loved Esav, Yitzchak, Rivka loved Yaakov, more, and Yitzchak loved Esav. But he says when he loved Esav, that I, the Ribosham, hate. Shenemar ves Esav sanesi. The Navi says, that Ach Esav Yaakov, Ach Esav ves Esav sanesi. I hate Esav. It's black and white in the Navi. And so Yitzchak loved the son that I hate. Yaakov, Shamar, Nistra, Darki, Me Hashem. Yaakov complained as if, his ways, are hidden from Hashem, as if Hashem is not, giving him enough. Hashem is not, taking good enough care of him, right? Not putting enough, hashgacha on him. Right, because Yaakov complained about his lot in life. Right, so the others are not good enough. Give me good Arevim, good guarantors, and I'll give you the Torah. The Nevi'im. The Nevi'im will be our Arevim, be our guarantors. Right? No, I have tinus on Nevi'im. Shenemar. Right, as the pasuk says, Varoim, and the shepherds, which are the Nevi'im, who lead us, Pashubi, they rebelled against me. That's one pasuk that's simply critical of the Nevi'im. Viksiv, another pasuk that's the first pasuk was pasuk in Yirmiyahu, and then the pasuk Cheskel Keshualim Bacharavas Levi. So just like the foxes and the ruins, so are your prophets, Klal Yisrael. Right? Like the foxes and the in the ruins, so were your Nevi'im, Klal Yisrael. Right? That's Rosh had tinus on the Nevi'im also. Not perfect people, and therefore they can't be the perfect Arevim. Give me good guarantors, and I'll give you the Torah. Amru Sakaisha said, Hare Banenu Arevim Osanu. We give our children as the guarantors. Amar Kodesh Baruch Hu. So Kodesh says, Vada Arevim Tovim. These are good guarantors. Right? Al Yedei Metnena, and because of them, the third line, through them, for them, because they are your Arevim, I will give it to you. I'll give you the Torah. Hadol Chsiv, as the pasuk says, Mipil Olim v'Yonkim. He says from the mouth of the babes, you founded strength. Vein Oiz Ela Torah, and Torah and Oiz strength is really the Torah. That's our strength. Shenem Hashem Oiz Amat. Hashem gives us Oiz. Oiz is the Torah. Hashem gives strength to His nation. So apropos, and that strength is the Torah. And at the time when now the borrower is, comes time to pay up, and he, Karshul demands that he pay up, and he has nothing to pay. So minit fas, who has to deal with it? Who now gets caught, stuck with the bill? Lo Erev is not the guarantor. Hoy shenemar. And that's what the Navi says. Batishkach Torah, you forgot the Torah of your God. Right? Eshkach banayecha, I will forget your children. Oh, you abandon my Torah, I'm going to abandon your children. The children are the Arevim. Gamani kivyacha afani b'shikha. So Racha just adds one more thing that Akarshul also says that, and when abandoning the children is also for Akarshul to Kivyachol abandon himself. Akarshul gets forgotten. Miomar Batara Lefana Batara Lefana Baruch Hashem Avarach La Yoinkin. Right? Who's going to say Baruch was Hashem Avarach when we make Berachas HaTorah? It's the kids who learn Torah, so they make Berachas HaTorah, right? So and start with Baruch Hashem as Hashem Amvorach. So by taking the kids, as collateral, right, and the kids get forgotten as an abandoned. Or it says, it's going to hurt me more than them. As it were, because with taking the children, I get forgotten, right? There's no one to say Baruch Hashem Amvorach. Heavy, so it comes out because you guys are so soft in your learning, stuff that we spoke about last night. You're soft in your learning. You go with your art scrolls, right? We talk about people with an IQ above 70 that could do more and should do more. Because you are lackadaisical in your learning, right? Nitfasu b'neichem, right? That's why your children are now grabbed, they are taken because you're Rifya Natera. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Lashavi Kasius Benechem Kivyachol Gamanisha, as you think it's for nothing, right? That I hit your kids, it's so Lashav is also. Also a lashon of being forgotten. I believe the Mepharshim explain. Kemal Lashav, Arizod Raya Cheres, Vakol Kral Lashav, Hakesi with Mia. You know, Lashav Musar, Steino Tolo Kuv, Lomdu, Lashon Lakach. Right, so the way that he also learns, it's learns it more literally. Lashav, you think it's for nothing? Elamai, the end of the pasuk says, because Musar Lola Kachu. Musar Lola Kachu, which is the end of the pasuk, it refers to the Torah. It said, Shema b'ni Musar Avicha, Val Titosh Torah Simecha. Musar Lola Kachu, right? It didn't weren't Isaac but Torah. And so give a Galim Shigah, but of course, with taking the kids, HaKadosh also causes himself to be forgotten. Mi Yomar Baruch was Hashem Amvarach Lefanai. Who's going to say Baruch Hashem Baruch? Fikach Torah Lamachus B'no L'Torah V'Lechancho B'Limud Shiach Yom Ba'olam Shenemar Kivir. And therefore, sites for doing. Also, make sure that your son, if you're your son, does, you're learning, and with that, the son will be on because you make your son learn chutz, at least you make him do it, right? Right? Then it'll be marach yom ba'olam hazeh. Shemar ki bi yerbu yamecha. With B is referring to Torah, yerbu yamecha. Right? This is the medrash that I was reminded of. I actually, as you could tell, I didn't learn it. I didn't chazer it until I did it with you in the video. I knew that I recalled that there was such a medrash, and I first learned it, together with you, right now. Yeah, so, Simchas HaTorah. That, that, as we explained in our Sefer, that, supposedly, by the end of the Yomim Noroyim, because, we had, Shavuos, we screwed up, we lost those Madregas because of Chet HaEgel, compound that with the Chet HaMeraglim, the whole setback of the 3 weeks that starts with Chet HaEgel as Mekalkom for Matan Torah, and the Chet HaMeraglim that made things even worse, right? Tisha B'Av, all 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks represents all our failures throughout history, including the Chet HaEgel that set back Matan Torah, and supposedly, we rebuild, Elul, Yomim Noroyim, Sukkos, and then Shmini Atzeres, like we explained, already a few times, and the few times that we're talking since we found out about the tragedy. All right, so Shmini Atzeres, that's why it's called Simchas HaTorah, as if on Shmini Atzeres we finally restored the relationship. But that's a special, parallel. And there's a measure says that really Shmini Atzeres should have been 49 days after Sukkot. 49 days after the first day of Sukkot, just like Shavuos is 49 days after the first day of Pesach, right? It's probably bad, but the Baruch didn't want to make us come back in the rain, because it would come out in the dead of the winter. It's Simchas HaTorah. By this time, Shmini Atzeres, we've supposedly restored the Madrega of Matan Torah to the fullest maximum extent that we can, right? Right, it's the restoration, supposedly the restoration, getting as close as we could, to back that huge madrega we were on by Matan Torah. And Banenu, we gave our children as, Klaisos get offered up to children as collateral. And the collateral was taken on Simchas HaTorah. Right, this is not a time, to do silly kumsitzin, right? And I'm going to talk about that more. And for the people that might be offended by what I'm going to say, because you're very inspired by these Tehillim followed by a kumsitz, I'm not talking to you. Please get off this video right now. You're not invited to be here. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to the Art School Cup. I'm not talking to the neo-Hasidic bozo, right? I'm done. I'm done with trying to save that type of oilum. I'm done with them, right? Right. As I quoted from one of the Gedolei Rosh Yizar Day, the Hamonam, they go for this garbage, and they don't have the kalim to understand what's wrong with it. So if we try, we just make trouble, and just makes machloikas, and no toss comes out of it. And the people that we criticize will play victim. We know about playing victim, right? Palestinians play victim. These people also will play victim. The elitist establishments coming out against them, literature establishment. All right, not talking to you, talking to the real Baalei Nefesh out there. All right, that mirifion HaTorah, HaKadosh takes our children. Look at that, 40 babies. Besides the ones that were stam killed, conventionally killed, as if that's. And Lav Milsa Zutra Sahi, and kidnapped, babies, burnt, beheaded, All right, and look at the sakana that we're in, right? That they're talking, that we're, on the one hand, we're talking about that we have not seen anything like this since the Holocaust. Since the Holocaust, we've never seen something like this. Since now, such atrocity, such brutality, so many Yidden dead in such a short amount of time. We haven't seen this through the Holocaust. And we're saying that openly. We're saying that openly, right? That this is Holocaust level, right? And still, there are parades in Manhattan and in Chicago coming out in favor of these animals. The enlightened academic world of Harvard and Columbia supporting these savage animals, saying it's the Yidden's fault. And in Australia, big demonstration, they're saying openly, gas the Jews. So they're not denying, they're not saying, yeah, Holocaust, and you deserve it. We're back to, mamish, the late 30s in Germany. We're back, right? HaKadosh always gave us respite after tsaras to rebuild, throughout our history. Hashem hit, but he gave respite and we rebuilt, and, not zocha to the gula, get hit again. And, so after the Holocaust, even though we've had some rough bumps since then, it wasn't all smooth sailing. But, begadol, there was respite. Right? There was still the Soviet Union, then the Soviet Union collapsed, and then we thought we really, the respite's over. The respite's over. Now we're being audited again. And the fact that some people might be out there saying you're an alarmist, and, all right? Right. Don't be an alarmist. And don't criticize the Kumsitzen. I walked away very inspired. Okay. Right? So the Kumsitzen are good, right? And we'll talk about what's evil about them, right? Art School we spoke about. The neo-Hasidism, clown show we spoke about. I don't think I have to recap that, even though it'll probably inevitably come up as I rant on, right? But, what we do, a few Tillim and a few videos, we produce these silly videos of Mikam Cho Yisrael, and, we do Kumsitzen, and now on, and they're sending out, MP3s of all the different versions of Achenu you can listen to 24/7. Really, get some good entertainment, good drama out of this, right? So maybe we should go into that point first, right? Dramatizing Judaism. Okay, as we said, we spoke about, the Chovas HaTalmidim yesterday, or Kloimus Kalman, and that again, quoting from my Rosh Yeshiva of Yaakov Weinberg, he was the Mishnah Achroina of Chassidus, right? And he's the best exposition of what the Baal Shem Tov was about, right? This Yid, who made real demands for excellence, because that's what Chassidus really is about, becoming Nevi'im again. That's his thesis. That's his unique definition of Chassidus, to try to become Nevi'im and become Bali Ruach HaKodesh. Right? So I believe it's in the Tzav V'Zirus, I do believe, right, that, in the back of the Hachsharas HaAvreichim, that I think it's there, or maybe it's printed together with the Derech HaMelech, that once he was giving a shmooze, and he was on fire, and people were crying. The floor was wet from tears. And also he took a piercing look around the room, and just got up and left, abruptly just walked out. So some of the people that were close to him, is Gabbai, is close Talmud, No, Rebbe, you were on a roll. I mean, you had the Balaam crying. So I took a look around the room. They were enjoying the show. They were enjoying the drama. I'm not an actor. So now, to fully understand what he meant, you have to shtel tzu, right? Something that I definitely did see in the Tzav V'Zirus, is that he says, people could enjoy Musar the same way a person, could enjoy the burn of a cheap schnapps. The burn, so you get accustomed to it. You like the burn. People like stimulation, even if it's like a burn, like the burn of schnapps, right? Person could like, he was a holy man. I'm sure, even though movies were invented by his time, we're talking about the 1930s, right? I'm sure he never stepped in a movie in his life. But ma davar dam, unfortunately, it's chata'enu, chata'ai. You guys are all perfect. It's chata'ai mask. I've seen movies in my day. Right, so you go to a good horror film, a good drama, a good good tear jerker, drama film or a horror film. Why do you? So it's not just you only go see comedies. When you go see adventure that get your adrenaline going, go see thrillers, horror, drama, stimulation. People want stimulation. People want all types of stimulation. Not just the stimulation of happiness. Yeah, life is boring without that. People want stimulation, right? And so sometimes it could be that even a stimulation that is technically a little bit painful, but you want stimulation. Like the burn of a cheap schnapps, is the marshal he gives. So you understand, based on what he says over there. And some people could just learn Musar, not because they really want to change, that to be mechayev themselves, to be different, and to progress, right, and to steig. Right? They want the burn. Feel the burn. Right? Like imbibing cheap schnapps, right? Going to a drama. Yeah, they want to cry. They want to go to good clubs and cry, feel sorry for themselves. Just easy. The one thing that is easy to explain, thanks to the abomination of the film industry, is that you go see a good drama, tear-jerking tragedy film, thriller film, horror film, stimulation. It's interesting. Well, in my mind, and again, if you're bristling, you're getting insulted, or you're just confused and you don't understand what I mean, just please get off the video right now. All right, I'm not talking to you. All right, but it's very interesting. I'm going to say something that's probably going to offend some. I mean, in this day and age, here's my philosophy. I always ask, if a tree falls in a forest and no one, heard it, fall, did it make a sound? Al derech, I have my philosophical query, right? If a man gave a full-length address on any topic, and no one in the room got offended, did he really say anything? Answer is no. He didn't really say anything, because if no one got offended, there was no real substance there. Because if there had been real substance there, someone would have got bristled by it, right? Because it was either hard to understand or it was machayev something. All right. But I'm trying to, get my message out to the people who really want to hear it. Okay. There's a yesod that I learned from the hitnatkut of Gush Katif, which, and the irony is that, that this is going full circle, because these animals, that invaded us used the area ceded by Ariel Sharon, and he did it just for political expediency because they were after him. He appeased the left by doing what the leftists want, and the Justice Department that was after him at the time. Right, and they were leftists, so he all of a sudden became the favorite of the left with the hitnatkut. So with the hitnatkut, he gave them free land. He expanded their area, and they've been launching missiles and attacks from the area that used to be called Gush Katif. So how ironic! I learned this lesson from the hitnatkut from Gush Katif. Now, it's where I first saw this evil of dramatizing tragedy and dramatizing Yiddishkeit, right? All right. So now, the Tzibur Hadati Le'umi was in a crisis. Not just a crisis because they're being thrown out of their homes, which is a big tragedy, and we don't talk about it anymore because it's uncomfortable. But it wasn't just the pain of relocating. The pain of relocating, that trauma caused marriages to fall apart, kids to go off the derech and go on drugs. It was much bigger than Stam giving up Eretz Yisrael, but it was all brushed under the carpet. Why? Right? It was brushed under the carpet because this was a serious crisis for the Dati Leumi world, because their whole ethos was built on the idea, as we're religious, and just because the establishment is secular, we could work with them, and together we'll bring the geula. Right? They had all types of ideas, and their whole ethos was built on that. To the point that, God forbid, a lot of some of the Datilmi felt themselves closer to the Chilonim than the Haredim, and which is horrible and sad. Good ideology. That was the whole ethos, and now here they were. They were the enemy. The Datilumi, the Mizrahi, was now the enemy of the state. The enemy of the state, because the state had decided on Hitnatkut. Right? How do you get out of the quandary? It was a real existential crisis, And I remember at that point, some people claimed that they would turn Haredi, and some did. Some tried being Haredi and then went back to not being Haredi. We had to find a way out of this huge quandary, right? Now, the soldiers also, a lot of them weren't comfortable with evicting Yidden from their houses. How do you find your way out of this? You do a kumsitz together. That's what I observed. Right? So there's all these tear-jerking videos. The soldiers, the evictors, and the evictees, they cried together, they hugged together, they danced together, and they did a kumsitz together. Right? And then afterwards, in the ensuing weeks, the evicted had a lot of kumsitz in together. Right? And at the time, I said, this is insane. And at the time, I'm just saying, I'm speaking to normal people, and not anyone who gets bristled or anything, So please, if you're finding this conversation uncomfortable, please get off this video, right? So I couldn't help thinking in my own head, and I didn't say this to anybody, would the Yidden in the Holocaust kumsitz together with the Nazis? Kumsitz with the guy as he's taking you to the gas chamber. Right? So you can't compare. Obviously, you can't compare, right? Being taken to extermination to just being evicted, which is quite traumatic also. And like we said, marriages fell apart over it, and kids got ruined from it. It's not, it was no small thing than just losing your house. Okay, but still, I'm not drawing an equivalence between that and being taken for extermination. I was just wondering, a person's taking your house away, ruining your life, right? And so you kumsitz with him, you dance with him. Yidden would dance with the capos, and I understood why there was just no other way, because the mind needed to be numbed. You have to put the rational zone to sleep, because when you think critically and say, this is crazy, and we were wrong with our shutfus with the Medina, or it has to be seriously reevaluated, but a serious reevaluation that might lead to some very uncomfortable conclusions, like joining the Haredi world. Some did and came back. I remember, without getting to all the details, it went in all the direct, but in general, to keep everything, you just got to numb the mind. So just sing it away. Dance it away, convert it into a nice drama show. But when things go in that zone, when the head goes in that zone, the analytical aspect of the head that makes cheshbonos and what's the MS, what's really going on here, what am I doing, right? What's happening, right? It gets numbed. It's all touchy-feely. But the brain, the analytical, critical thinking zone of the brain is shut down. And that's what needs to be done. That's how you solve that's how you get past, not solve, get past the problem. Numb the mind. It's anesthesia. You, as it were, sleepwalk through it. Just go into that zone, that touchy-feely zone, and put the brain to sleep. The analytical, critical thinking aspect of things. And this is not a chiddush. When people are having a kumsitz or having a spiritual experience, or when a neo-Hasidic bozo says a sweet little nothing, and someone asks, but that doesn't stem, it doesn't make sense. Shh. You're ruining the energy. You're ruining the experience. It's not a time for critical thinking. That's a literature zone. Maybe that's the way they talk. You're ruining the experience. You're ruining it, right? And that's what's so wrong. That's what's so wrong with drama Judaism, right? Oh, it feels good, but it's not about how you feel. It's not about how you feel. The Rebbe Hashem doesn't care about how you feel. That if he doesn't want you to feel spiritual, he wants you to do real avodah, real block Gemara, and those real block Gemara. It shouldn't be berifion. It should be with ha'amaka, right? Strain yourself to understand it. That way, you merge your mind with the Torah, and that way you cause your neshama to spark up. Things that we spoke about last night. The Rebbe Hashem wants results. Doesn't want you feeling spiritual. Feeling spiritual is nothing. Feeling spiritual is just a biochemical rush. Why do you think that there's anything to it? Just like the burn. It's the burn of the cheap schnapps. You know who also drove this home to me in a way, just like kicked me like between the legs. My Rebbe Moshe Shapira, Zecher Tzad Kodesh Livracha. Right. It was the first time I met him, that great encounter that changed my life. He already changed my life. We sat for like over 2 hours, more than 2 hours, talking about everything. And he was giving it to me, not just the substance, but he was also lacing into me. And, and it was, my first encounter with him was already transformative, let alone, over our association that went on for decades. He was Mosif, but right from the very first time, he changed my life. Right. So at the end, we're conversing in Ivrit. So at the end, I said to him, Harav, neneti mo'od. I really enjoyed this. Right? So he was like, neneta, ma'ani prachim. You enjoy what you enjoyed me? What am I, flowers that you enjoyed smelling? Ani lo rotze prachim. Ani rotze peirot. Let's not make this about flowers. Flowers you enjoy. Right? It's not about, I want fruit. I want results. I want rotze peirot. Ani rotze lirot. Tota, I want to see, because of what I told you, you're changing your life, you're changing your thinking, you're going to steig, you're going to plow, you're going to learn. Neneti. It's not about Hana. It's about Meisim. Right? It's about real results. I told over by his shloshim, the hesped I gave on a shloshim in the White Shul, that when Scuds were formed by the first Lebanon war, first Gulf War, so I called him as a Rav, and he doeg lecha. Rav, I'm so worried about you. I said, Yochanan, al tidagli, tidag latzmecha sheyitzeh mimcha mashu. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself, that you become something, that you be something. And anyone who knew my Rebbe knew he didn't go. First of all, he was from the big Kanoim against the obscenity of the art school Gemara, right? That's now become the norm. It's not a busha anymore of the Rifyon. We've institutionalized Rifyon B'Torah, right? Stuff that, we learn to the marriage, we pay a high price for, Shem Yerachim, right? But, in general, that's him and my other Rebbe, Yaakov, that's all they ever wanted. All they ever wanted was, to make real B'nai Torah that are steiging be'emes, right? Not to do silly dances and a story that I should have told over at the White Shul, but I was advised not to. It might offend people. It's not a nice thing to say over. And I regret not saying it over, because what the Olam should hear. That one time he came in, to Moshe, came into Shir, and he was quite in he was in an upset mood for whatever reason. That was not uncommon for us to see, because he was just so frustrated with the mediocrity, right? The mediocrity of the Olam, and I heard it from him many times. So he tells her, he used to hang around in Or Samech in those days. Or Samech was was the Vienna, the refugee city, the refuge city for displaced Rosh Yeshiva. Big ones like Rav Shapiro, Rav Doi Schwartzman, a lot of big Rosh Yeshivas to hang out there. Right, huge people. Yes, sir. So he said, there's a Bachor mi Russia, there's the Russian division, which I guess, he hung out, moved around the different programs there. So the Russian division, Bachor Tov, there's a Shnatayim, it's a good boy. That's a good boy from Russia. He's been there for like 2 years. So he says that, that in that course of that week, we used to have our chabur at the end of the week. He said, of course, that week, this boy is a good boy from, a expat from Russia. Came over to him. He had been in Or Samech for 2 years already. He said, Rav, Yeshli Sheila. Okay. Well, so everybody says, okay, ciao. He said, you have a question to ask? Aval Rav, lo naimli. Lo naimli the show. I'm not comfortable asking these questions. Al tida, tishal, al tefached. Don't be afraid to ask. Harav ze bemet nachon she'atorah ze or gadol. Is it really true that Torah is a great light? Amarti lo, ken. As lama kulam po idiotim. So if Torah is a big light, why is everyone here idiots? And Ramesh started that. Lo yadati mala not lo bemet lama kulam idiotim. Right, we're into brain dead, dramatized Judaism, and we're not getting the message. So as if we weren't doing enough kumzitzin until now, we have to do more kumzitzin. Right? So we had this Leil of, Leil is Oirus, Tilim and a Kumzitz. What? Bishlam a Tilim, that's Tefillah. After that, if you had a Divrei, don't sit and sing, send them to the base medrash. What are these people going to do when they finally find out that God is not just God is not dead. He's not dead, and he's certainly not gay. Right? He doesn't care if you wiggle your tuchus in front of his Aron HaKadosh where there's a lebedik and nigga in shul. He doesn't enjoy that. You're lucky he doesn't strike you dead for that. Right? He wants results, right? Emerson Tefillah b'kavana, not thinking about anything else, and not sipping your latte, mitten davening. Right? You follow your whole mind and heart is just in the tefillah. Right? And he wants learning. And he wants learning ba'omet, that your whole moyach and lev is niskasher in the learning. And he wants tikkun amidas. He wants real work. Right? And over here, everything is drama. So you're feeling Jewish, feeling spiritual. What do they do what does it produce? What yid does it help? You're feeling all sorry for yourself and feeling all spiritual. Which yid gets help by that? Right? Person who needs to pay bills or needs help. Who gets help by your feelings? Right? What does the Rebbe get from your feelings? And when you go in that zone, are you thinking how to answer something that Reb Kiva Eger left B'tzarach Iyun, or actually going into that zone is a steer to that because the critical thinking goes down when the emotions go up. That's just Teva Ada. Now, there's a place for Regesh, don't get me wrong, in the right place at the right time, right? And never to the point that it's Mevatel the Seichel. Yeah. According for another Rebbe of mine, Rav Yochanan's wife, so sein gesund und stark. He was in Beis HaTalmud together with Rav Moshe Shapira, and when Rav Hutner was there. So even though Rav Yochanan's wife told me he and Rav Hutner, whatever, he was more with Rav Dov Schwartzman. But, he had some interesting qualitative, he had some great quotes from Rav Hutner from the time he was in Beis HaTalmud. And Rav Hutner once said, there's some gedolim that are mizgaber over their seichel. I was being cynical, being mizgaber over their seichel. He wasn't saying it as a compliment. If he sarcastically said it as if it was a mizgaber over the seichel. The Rebbe doesn't want you to be mizgaber over your seichel, Right? He wants you to serve him with lave and real regesh sincerity, but regesh not biochemical. Regesh is in it's sincere. Sincerity is not mevatel the seichel. The tutti frutti, that's mevatel the seichel. And it makes the whole thing fake, not serious, not machayev. And Rebbe now is demanding from us chiyuv, obligation, getting serious. You see, we're being audited. The respite from after the Holocaust is over. We're talking another Holocaust now, like Bepem Mole, Holocaust level horror, and plenty of goyim from across the world, right here in the United States, saying, and the Jews deserve it. And it's from the most enlightened people. Not that Germany was the most enlightened society back in the turn in the previous century, also, right? Now in Harvard and Columbia, right? And the Jews deserve it. The Jews are the real aggressors, like the intelligent, enlightened people. And amazing that you didn't still vote Democrat. It doesn't matter. To vote Democrat is to support abortion, support open borders, support lawlessness, right? To be anti-God, the transgenderism, and all that because you don't like Donald Trump's tweets. I'm just saying, look, I'm not saying they have to like Donald Trump, but you got to go and vote L'Shem HaKadosh Baruch Hu and do what he wants, not what you feel like and not what society puts into your head. The way you should feel, you should use your head and critically think things through and just vote, Lefi Das Torah, if you don't feel like it. But now it's out. It's cat's out of the bag that the enlightened, nice people, right, are the biggest anti-Semites that would indeed legitimize another Holocaust, so long as it's done, as a guise of fighting for the Palestinians and eliminating the state. We're nothing against Jews, just want to eliminate the state of Israel from the face of the earth because Israel's an apartheid state. No one's thinking. Why does 70% of Yidden vote for that side of the political, divide, right? And now what? Simple solution: do another kumsitz and numb the brain, and you'll just coast right through it. I know there's just other things I wanted to say and get off my chest, right? But I have to tell you, the tendency to want to numb the mind, right? When sorrows come, is not just a natural, it's a natural type of escapism, right? Right? It's just too horrifying that you have to really learn, really learn be'emes and really be metakin midas and really serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not just try to get into a certain feeling. It's not about feelings, it's about results. It's about real, tangible results. That's machayev. And so aside from the escapism, right? But there is something, that the Ber Maim Chaims, learn Ber Maim Chaim and learn Sharat Tefillah and tell me if Hasidus is all about being, shallow-minded and just shuckling the tuchas, right? See what real avodah is and the drisha, right? We spoke about this enough yesterday. The big scam that neo-Hasidism is the biggest sheker it ever was. Right? But so you take a look, in the Shar HaTfilah that the Ber Maim Chaim wrote B'Sof Yom. He sent it from Eretz on. It's his Ber Maim Chaim is deep. Sidur Shal Shabbos is deep. Shar 2 is even deeper, and it says not done because he was Zoichet to Torah's Eretz Yisrael. He was at the spitz of his spiritual heights when he wrote the Shar HaTfilah, B'Sof Yom in Eretz Yisrael. So Nakdama, he brings to the pasuk in Yishar, Hashpin Avazeh, Ve'ena Vasha, Oznav Hachped, Ve'ena Vasha, Penira Ve'Luvavio Shalo, this nation, make their heart fat, meaning as in, thick and impenetrable, close their eyes, make the ears heavy, that they shouldn't see, lest they come to Havana and do tshuva, right? Mind numbing, stops doing tshuva, not really looking, like close your eyes, don't see the danger that you're really in, ignore the danger that you're really in, don't hear the warnings, right? Don't think too deeply, lest if you would, because you would understand you're the precarious and you would do tshuva. That's what the pasuk says. So Zok the Ber Maim Chaim in the Shar Tefillah, that really the first part was not just complaining that the Jews have shut their eyes, hard, made their ears heavy, and that's why they're not doing tshuva. It's more than that. It's like a gzera. That when the Kershal is, when the Kfar Nigzera Gzera, the Rebbe puts us spiritually asleep, right? Now, there's a dual purpose for this, and I may be adding a few words to what he says. It's right there in Akdama. It's in the very beginning, so you can look this up. I know our school hasn't done it yet, okay, Baruch Hashem, right? So you look it up in the source. So over there, my understanding is that there's a dual purpose. So first of all, because Kfar Nigzor Gzera, you don't deserve, the Gzera is starting, so you don't really deserve to have it easy to do tshuva. That was before Nigzor Gzera. It should be easy to do. Now it should be hard. But there's another purpose, I says. You're being put under anesthesia, right? That this type of being, kind of dense and not getting it, right, is actually in a certain way the secret of Jewish survival. That where it's like the anesthesia of going through a difficult operation. You need the anesthesia. The Golus is a difficult operation that sadly we delayed doing tshuva until it was nigzar already. So being kind of spiritually dense is like anesthesia, and that explains how the Jews always bounce back. We've had more trauma than any other nation on earth, and we're always bouncing back. Whereas other nations are talking about post-traumatic stress even 200 years later, without getting into details who says what. They're talking about something that happened in their history 200 years ago, and they're still traumatized from it. And so it gets up immediately the next generation. We're kind of numb, because and that's it. And he writes over there, that's really what Rachel was most afraid. Rachel mivakal baneh. I forget how he proves it, right? But he makes the case of what Rachel mivakal baneh of the Golus wasn't just out the Golus, but she was more worried about the anesthesia that they're under. They'll stay in Golus forever. They'll forget who they really are because they're in a state of, it was the nigzar on them. Hashmein lemazeh, vein of hashav, one of zahak made, right? It's a gzera, right? But over there, he promises that if a person wants to daven be'emes, it's the tefillah could be more. Yesh sachar fulasech is that there's the koach hatefillah, and the koach hatefillah, when we daven, we could totally awaken. If you want to daven fully awake, spiritually awake, there's the koach of tefillah that bisman hatefillah, and of course once you are that through the tefillah you wake up. And you get past that, slumber, it could have a spillover effect that if you collate, the iris of that experience, you could also, break out of the slumber and do tshuva shlema. Ayin Sham, I haven't seen in years, and I openly admit that I may be fudging some of the details. So take a look; it's right there, right at the beginning of the Sefer Shar Tefillah, right? But here's the point that I want to get at, when I first learned that, I learned it many years ago and I haven't seen it in many years. But after that, it triggered in my head a realization that you read the Yagadas by Churban Abayis, right? You read the Yagadas of Churban Abayis, in Gittin, so there's a certain common thread of people, the head's not totally working, their head's numb. The biggest example is Marta Baspaisos, right? That woman, very rich. She wants the fanciest bread. He comes back, and they're out. What should I do? All right, so get me the other one. Right? We think like, just go grab the bread. Just go grab what there is. As the Maral says, it wasn't natural. People thought everything's okay. And it was like their pellet, it's like, how did you go bankrupt? Gradually and then suddenly. It's like, it seemed, there's, gradual, okay, it's okay. So if she doesn't like the cheap stuff, she can wait a day, right? And but gradually, then suddenly, there's nothing to eat, right? But instead that, and it could be that the moral means this also, but instead from Ber Mayim Chaim, that stam, the brain doesn't work. If it's la'achar gzar din, the brain doesn't work anymore. I just didn't put two and two together. You better just grab whatever there is. And that trend is there of Schar ben Avkulas. On Vitanusa, it's a machlokas what it means, but it's seemingly the simplest pshat is that Schar ben Avkulas, something went wrong in the way he thinks. The Maral says, I'm doing because he's such an honor. The Rebbe wanted to use him as a kli to bring about the churban. But either way, there was bittul hadas, because look, everyone knows that even though he raised, I wouldn't say the concerns they raised weren't legitimate, but think of the big picture, right? You don't kill Bar Kamsa, so people shouldn't think that Mato Mum Bekochim is a chi of Misa, but he's a roidif. So who cares if people learn the wrong lesson, right? Save the Jewish lives by killing this roidif, this meiser, right? And then, then explain later, right? Right, or sacrifices, pikuach nefesh, right? People say it's supposed to be makriv ba'almum. So of course, legitimate concerns if you didn't have pikuach nefesh in the background. So actually, however you want to learn, there was a gzeira, on Vitanusa means he was such an onav that he had no, some say this, he had no zich, he had no ego, so Rebbe could use him as the messenger. But either way, it's still, the equation is the same, that there's bittul hadas. It's pikuach nefesh. Right? So who cares? Yomru matu, yomru matu mum mekochim yaoreg, or yomru baal mum v'karv mizbech. Who cares? Save Jewish lives, and then you'll have plenty of time to explain it to all those lives that you saved. Right? Elama, nigzor gzeira. The Rebbe wants to be macher of the bias, and unfortunately, the mind when kvar nigzor gzeira, the mind gets affected. Right? Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. All right. Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. He goes to Aspasianus, and Aspasianus asked him a question. Listen, if you're saying the reason why he couldn't come until now is because the Biryonim wouldn't let you out of the city, so it's like the snake that's around the barrel of honey. I think it was. Is that what it was? Barrel of honey. I think it's a barrel of honey, if I remember correctly. It said, and I did not chazer before I got on the video tonight. Speaking off the top of my head, right? So so the barrel of whatever there's honey, so I can't get it, so I break the barrel. So also, you say to Biryon, don't let people, good people get in and out of Yerushalayim to hold negotiations. So I'll be mach Yerushalayim, just like if the snake is around the bottom, I might as well break the barrel. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai didn't know what to answer him. And he said, Meishiv chachamim achor b'datam yisachel. He could have answered him very simply. This Gemara says, you bring the name of Rabbi Akiva, or a Tana name of Rabbi Akiva. Some say it was this one, some say it was Rabbi Akiva. Well, I mean, no, that's not the answer. No, you don't have to break the barrel. Take a tong and remove the snakes. Also, let's think of a way, make a task force that'll take out the Biryonim. Why do you have to destroy the whole city, right? There was a simple answer, and he couldn't think of it. And some say, one lashon Gemara is that, and that by that stage Gemara, everyone agrees it was a kiyum of Meishiv Chacham Achor V'Datam Yisachel. Just later, it's Tula Shoyness when he said, okay, you can make a wish, because I'm impressed with you. So he asked for three things, save the Shulshul to Gamliel, he'll Rabbi Tzadok. The third thing just evades me right now, but it's not the point. As I'm saying that, so one, the first Hashemar is that, he should have just said, you want a favor, you're granting me a wish, leave us. Give us one more chance, right? Missed an opportunity. So second Lashon Gemara is that, maybe on that he was right. He just honestly believed that if you'd ask for, to call off the siege, he wouldn't listen. Okay, but I'll call it, everyone agrees by the first part of the Maisa. Right? You got to know that being apathetic is you're a panic rouser, you're a rabble rouser, you're the one who's making drama, Rabbi Beckhofer, right? No. When kfar nigzor gzeira, the mind goes numb, right? The mind would not have gone numb if we would have done tshuva before Gzar Din. And after Gzar Din, part of the matzav of being la'achar Gzar Din is the mind goes numb. So it's not like mamish losing your bechira like Paro, but it's certainly not easy. It's hashmein levamazeh, anav hasha, oznav hachbet, anav hasha, right? My father told me, that the Jews in Germany didn't believe the Holocaust would happen. And it's the thing that they're saying on the news house. If someone says they're going to kill you, take them seriously. Hitler, Crystal Nach. It's just, it's a mob. It's like the mob in Manhattan, the pro-Palestinian mob. It's a mob. It's not the whole German people, civilized people. And Hitler is just saying, political points, to get elected. He doesn't really mean. Yidden didn't believe it, right? Even though it was plain in their face. So here's the story of my family, right? That my father told me that his parents didn't believe that the Holocaust would happen. But then he's a little boy, 4 years old, mashu kaze, 4 or 5, thereabouts, like Marsh, a little boy, and he's walking the streets of Germany. I don't remember if it was Beckhofen or they had already moved to Frankfurt. It was back in the native town. And then a German, the way I remember hearing from my father, he was still in Beckhofen at the time, because this is what caused him to run to Frankfurt, was a little bit more civilized, and from there to get, but what triggered it to leave. So he's walking the streets of this, peaceful hamlet of Beckhofen, and then a Hitler youth with a big German shepherd sees the Jewish boy and sicks the dog. And my father was eaten almost half alive. For 3 days, he hovered between life and death. But it took that to shock my grandparents to understanding that this is not just, political rhetoric. This is not just Stam a fad. This is real. And that's, they need to destroy that to penetrate. But the other Yidden didn't believe it. Or Hitler stood about the Ostjuden. In a sefer called Zichron Kadeshim, written by Rebbe She'eniko, I don't remember which Hasidus he traces himself back to. So it was a Polish Hasidus. He was a son of a Rebbe or a grandson of a Rebbe. A learned yeshiva bacher, a Polish Hasidic bacher. And he escaped from Poland to Hungary when the Holocaust happened. And he's in the mikveh. He writes in the Hakdama to the Sefer that he's in the mikveh on Erev Shabbos in Hungary, right? And the Yidden are talking, schmoozing in the mikveh, all these crazy stories must be exaggerated about, the Tevach, the Germans, they're civilized people. They're talking about as if they're barbaric crusaders from 800 years ago. Like they're talking amongst themselves that all these stories must be overblown, somehow exaggerated. They can't be, it must be sensationalism, or, how stories get exaggerated, inflated, or, to get attention. Okay, and so this Bacher Pai says, no, it's all true. And I saw them, cram starving Yidden like cattle into cattle cars. So one guy there slapped him across the face. You stop with your fear mongering. You stop with your crazy talk. You don't create panic here. Here? Right, we want to keep our peace. You keep your mouth shut and don't cause agitation and hysteria. People didn't want to believe it. It's a tremendous Hester punning. That people just didn't want to believe it. Like the mind shut off. I mean, the kid is not just saying, he's not saying he heard and tell you, keep your fibs. He's saying he was an eyewitness. Slapped him. Keep quiet. That's the matzav when kfar nigzor gzeira. The mind shuts down. And I fear we're there now. And these kumzits don't help. Just moves it to the drama zone, which is far from the real introspective, what do I have to fix? What do I do to be better? What do I do, real results. So chasodim, real learning for those who are bar hachi. But like I said extensively, throughout this video, I am not talking to the brain dead. I've given up. I've lived here for 9 years. I've given up, right? I'm not talking for those who are seeking drama. Tell us that Rav Moshe Shapiro stuff. That's what people sometimes ask me. They want to hear So tell us some Ramosha Shapiro stuff. That's what I call it. I mean, things that ring a certain way. No shachas to the real substance of the issue. Tell us some Ramosha Shapiro stuff. So I'm not talking to these people right now. I want to end with one more story from my other spiritual father, Yaakov Rosh Hashanah Yisrael. And this is my message tonight, as we've described the gravity of the situation and the brain deadness that is around us. Kula midiotin. So, it was a Purim, and believe it or not, I did some drinking. Some people might be shocked to hear that. And, and someone who I thought was a balabas from the town of Baltimore walked into the Rosh Yeshiva, came onto campus, walked into Rosh Yeshiva's apartment. I started shepherding. Back then, I was very critical of Baltimore, the town. I felt it was very mediocre. No shifa for godless. At the time, and of course, is speaking from the perspective of a kid. Smart aleck kid. The town, the people, the Balbatim from Shtut. Nice to me, mistake, but very mediocre. And then, of course, it's Purim, so Nichnas Yain Yotzasod, things that you want to keep locked up secretively in your mind and in your heart, they come out. Those and comes out, and I'll just jump to the punchline. The Sefer, because I don't want to ruin the effect of the story. So I'll just jump ahead. Comes out years later. I met that guy at Aish. He wasn't a balabas from town at all. He was an Aish operative, and he was visiting Shia Milikovsky, who lived on campus. But I thought I figured out when I bumped into him years later when I was a Rebbe at Aish. What are you doing here? It comes out he never was a balabas from Baltimore. But at the time when I was, stone drunk, I thought it was a balabas from town. I started shepherding him, you guys, you lack ambition, you lack drive, is it? So the Rosh Yeshiva, turns to me and says, what do you have with this man? Why are you shepherding him? Said he's a balabas from town. And what's wrong with that? He's a balabas. They're so mediocre. And the Rosh Yeshiva said like this, even though I was stone drunk, it penetrated. Right? Yes, the Yidden of the town of Bol are very mediocre. But do you know why they are mediocre? Because Yeshivas Ner Yisrael is mediocre. It's our fault. If we were to have she'ifa for godless, she'ifa, to be learn to the max and be Oved Hashem to the max and do Chasron to the max, it would have a spillover effect on the town. They're mediocre because we're mediocre. Yeah? And that's my listen. As I said, this video is for Bnei Aliyah. Right now, Ace Tzarli Yaakov, and if you want to be a Ben Aliyah, you want to be worthy of that. It's time to get going. Biyodcha Dover. Forget about the Yidden. Forget about the art scroll heads, right? Forget about the the spiritual bozos. Forget about them, right? It's biyadenu hadavar. If we are to be bnei aliyah, we have to take responsibility. We have to save Klal Yisrael. We have to save Klal Yisrael. We have to do what it takes to be ma'avir gzeira. Right? That if we have the kelim to learn be'emes and to learn shtark and to learn tif, right, and to daven bekavana be'emes and to serve Hashem be'emes and to be mechayev ourselves to change and to be better, right? To break our be'emes, then it's up to us, and we have to, and if we will, right, it'll have a spillover effect on the hamonam, and that's what will elevate the hamonam. We have to turn our efforts inwards towards being doubling down on our real avoda. They talk, Toch is chuckling as called avoda, right? I'm saying real avoda, like real work, real work, right? Of limud, right? His amkus and limud, right? We got a slap in the face, that were being near Rifyo Minator. They took kids, that's the biggest slap in the face of Rifyo Minator. It's part of the medrash that we opened up with, right? If we want to reverse the situation, we have to take responsibility. The Bnei Aliyah, anyone who fancies himself as such, you fancy yourself as bad, take real responsibility. Take real responsibility to really double down, in your learning, your davening, your avodah, real avodah, like avodah work that gets results, right? And Be'ez Hashem will have a spillover effect, and hopefully it will be mashpia on Achenu Beis Yisrael. Mikoch us doing our job will have a spillover effect and draw down the das that was nostalgic, right? Draw down the das that was nostalgic, right? So kol mi sheyesh bo das kil nivna beis hamikdash biyamav. That being a baal das causes a hashras hashchina. The opposite of the siluk that happens when it's nigzeros nigzar siluk hashchina. If we're marbed das Torah, we're going to cause hashras hashchina in the world and have a spillover effect on Achenu Beis Yisrael, that they'll also do tshuva and also seek, right? To umalards deis Hashem kamayim layam machasim, and Be'ez Hashem we'll see the Gula Shem of Be'er Be'amenu, and we get out of Golos Barachamim. Amen. Ken Yiratzim.